This is CBC Late Night News.
Hello, I'm Shannon Martin. A toddler is in hospital tonight after a terrifying hit and run in Scarborough. The boy, just 20 months old, was in his stroller on a walk with his mom and grandma when they were struck by an SUV. Kelda Hewen spoke with the boy's father, who says tonight the little one is recovering and he's expected to be okay. Both the father and police are confident the suspects will be caught.
It was pretty rough.
The stroller was a wreck and he was thrown from the stroller.
Brent is talking about his son, Daniel, just 20 months old. He's now recovering at Sick Kids Hospital. Brent did not want to give his full name or show his face on camera. He says he will be by his son's side through the night. And during our interview, the hospital called with some good news.
No broken bones have been identified, so that's good as well. No cranial fractures. My son is going to be just fine. He'll probably never be the same again, considering the trauma that he just went through, but physically he'll be just fine. Horrible of a situation as it is, it could have been a lot worse.
And initially, it did seem a lot worse. Daniel was rushed to hospital in critical condition. A gray Dodge Journey traveling eastbound on Ellesmere Road approaching Pharmacy Avenue failed to stop for a red light. It mounted the sidewalk, hitting Daniel, his mother, and his grandmother. The mother suffered a broken leg, the grandmother a hand injury.
We're taking this very, very seriously.
Police say one suspect, seen here in a surveillance photo, fled on foot. Another took off in the car, but not without leaving evidence. The vehicle's license plate had torn off and was left at the scene. Police are now looking for a gray 2015 Dodge Journey with the plate ANXC265. They also have 3 persons of interest: 49-year-old Corey Monroe, 34-year-old Derek D'Souza, and 30-year-old Amanda Rue. All are from Toronto.
We will identify who that driver was. We will identify who that occupant was.
First thoughts that came to mind is, what are they hiding? Or did they just panic? He basically left them there to potentially die. They could have got out and made sure that they were okay, at least helped in some sort of way, but instead of doing that, they decided to drive away. So it's no longer an accident the way I see it.
Brent says he's confident the suspects will be caught, but tonight, that's not the main thing on his mind. It's the relief that his loved ones will be okay.
So I'm in a pretty deep state of calm right now. As bad as it is this is as good as it gets.
Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Meantime, 2 people are dead, another seriously injured after a crash in Vaughan. It happened on King Vaughan Road between Weston and Pine Valley Drive around 2:45 this afternoon. One person was pronounced dead on scene. The 2 other victims were taken to hospital, where one later died. The third remains in serious condition. That stretch of King Vaughan Road is reopened after being closed for several hours. Police are searching for suspects after 2 women in their 20s were shot outside a West End bar.
At this time, we don't know if they were the intended targets. There were a group of people that were out in front of the bar here behind me.
It happened just before 2:30 this morning on Oakwood Avenue near Vaughan Road. Police got reports of about 6 gunshots heard in the area. The 2 victims are in serious condition but expected to recover. Police are asking anyone with video of the incident or information to come forward. A robbery gone wrong. That's what police believe happened when a man in his 20s was shot early this morning.
It does appear that the shooting initially was a robbery, and at some point the victim was shot. There is some indication that after the suspect led, he may have also let off a few rounds into the air.
It happened in a parking lot near Bathurst and College just after 3 a.m. Police shut down a large stretch. The street was crowded. It was closing time at several bars. Police are hoping anyone who may have seen something will come forward. The suspect is described as a 20 to 30-year-old black man with a dark complexion. He was last seen heading south on Bathurst. Mayor John Tory was asked about the recent gun violence. He repeated what he feels needs to happen. That's stricter bail laws, more support for police, and increased investment in kids and families to tackle gang and gun activity, all of which has seen some support from federal party leaders this election campaign. But something that has fallen flat is a ban on handguns.
I'm disappointed that nobody has agreed with the call for a handgun ban, which of course doesn't just come from me. It comes from groups of physicians who treat people who are shot. It comes from many citizens. It comes from victims of gun violence. But having said that, we've taken a step forward with the measures that have been proposed by a couple of the parties, the Liberal and the NDP come to mind, to reduce the supply of guns, to get some of those guns out of the hands of people in cities where they end up falling into the wrong hands.
It is Thanksgiving long weekend, and for the family in this next story, it's their first time celebrating. They're refugees new to Canada, and this holiday they're getting a hand from the man who helped sponsor them. As Angelina King shows us, their paths crossed long ago.
The welcome sign front and center in the Shkib family's brand new home. Refugees from Pakistan, the husband, wife, and sister arrived here less than a month ago, just in time for Thanksgiving.
I know that this is your first Thanksgiving, so we want to make it something special.
They spent today preparing because tomorrow they'll be hosting. To ease them in, it'll be a potluck and someone else will bring the turkey. The meal will be a fusion. They'll be serving kheer, a dish from home. Similar to rice pudding, it's made with rice, sugar, milk, and nuts and served on special occasions.
So they are very excited about Thanksgiving and looking forward to how it is celebrated tomorrow.
Shkib, his wife and sister say they fled Pakistan due to religious persecution. Shkib is Christian, his wife Muslim. Their marriage upset her family, leading to violent threats, he says, forcing his sister to hide them in her home. They say they feared for their lives and had to leave the country. In Canada, they found freedom and safety.
It's a nice place. It's a peaceful country. So we are happy here.
Not long ago, Farouk Mushtaq was in a similar situation. He says he and his father were falsely accused of blasphemy and that they were tortured and jailed before being proven innocent. His family fled Pakistan to Sri Lanka. There, he met the Shkib family for the first time. They were all trying to get to Canada through the UN Refugee Agency. Mushtaq's family was approved first.
I still remember the day when we met them before leaving Sri Lanka, and they said, you know, will it be possible for you to do something for us when you go there?
So he made a promise. If he could, he'd help them get residence in Canada. 5 years later, he did.
He's thankful that we never forgot that promise.
Mushtaq's dad created the nonprofit that, along with the church, sponsored them.
And that is probably the best thing could happen to us, and we are happy about it.
On their first Thanksgiving, they say they all have a lot to be thankful for. Angelina King, CBC News, Markham.
To the prairies now, where a state of emergency in Manitoba is now declared after a massive snowstorm. Manitoba Hydro says damage to transmission towers and hydro poles is unprecedented.
In some areas, we have more lines and poles down than standing. Our crews are out there working hard, 16 hours a day, doing their best to restore the power.
They've reached out to neighbors, including Ontario, for replacement towers, specialized equipment, and crews. Portage-La Prairie was hit especially hard, as well as a number of Indigenous communities. The Red Cross has opened a warming shelter for people from more than a dozen First Nations, some of which haven't had power for more than 2 days. The province is also keeping an eye on water levels as the snow, now mixed with rain, continues to melt. Well, let's bring in our Marta Churilovich now from the Weather Network. It's such a difference from what we're seeing here because it's been so beautiful and sunny and warm, and the pictures from there are just crazy.
Yeah, and taking a look at the temperature pattern, I mean, it's going to be cooler and it's going to be a little bit below seasonal for lots of areas for Thanksgiving Monday, including Winnipeg, where it's going to feel feel like 2, and really for this time of year it should be around 11. But focusing in on Toronto, tonight it's going to be 8 degrees, so crisp and cool, but that's not out of the ordinary. In through the afternoon, 11 degrees, which for this time of year it should be around 14. So just slightly below seasonal, but then again that sunshine is there, so it's not going to feel as cold as it actually is. The precipitation forecast, you can see this front pushing through. It's not really bringing any showers in through the GTA and southern Ontario, mostly in through northeastern Ontario. That's where you can see that lake effect shower. And lake effect happens when cooler air comes above the warmer water and then it lifts, and that's where all these green cells are forming. That's where you can see some of that lake effect shower overnight Sunday into Monday. The cold wind coming over the warm water, as I mentioned, and areas like Timmins will see that rain, but Toronto nice and clear there. And Windsor in extreme southwestern Ontario, 12 degrees. And just a closer look at the GTA, again 11 degrees in Toronto, 8 degrees in Guelph, 11 in Hamilton. I'll have more for you in your long range forecast.
Thanks, Marta. We'll see you soon. Justin Trudeau has addressed last night's security threat at a campaign rally in Mississauga, a threat that saw him wear a bulletproof vest under his shirt. We'll have the latest on that right after the break. Security concerns are evident again tonight at another Liberal campaign stop. Tactical officers are staying close to Justin Trudeau after an unspecified threat last night. Ashley Burke with the details of what we've learned and Trudeau's response today.
It's a sight even senior RCMP members call unprecedented. Justin Trudeau flanked by heavily armed tactical officers, and under his shirt, a bulletproof vest, believed to be a first for a political leader in Canada.
Hello, Mississauga!
Trudeau showed up to last night's rally 90 minutes late. RCMP sources say that's a sign the security threat came last minute, requiring a change of plans. One change, his wife, was supposed to introduce him but never appeared.
This will not change at all how I campaign.
Today, Trudeau said his priority was the safety of his family and supporters.
I took advice from the RCMP, work with them, but I will not make any further comments on this incident.
Sources familiar with the Prime Minister's protective detail say Trudeau and RCMP would have negotiated a safe way to hold the rally, a plan that included the emergency response team, highly trained tactical officers who respond to high-risk situations. They're usually hidden behind the scenes on the campaign trail, but last night were in plain sight. Their bags loaded with firearms. Another officer carried a ballistic mat, which could have been used to shield Trudeau from bullets. Both Jagmeet Singh and Andrew Scheer condemned the threat of violence.
There should never be fear for any leader from any party to feel like there's any threat to themselves.
On Saturday night, Scheer tweeted, "Threats of violence against political leaders have absolutely no place in our democracy."
Thank you.
At a Thanksgiving food drive, Trudeau brought up the divisive rhetoric in the campaign.
I think it's very clear that that there is a general polarization right now that various parties have contributed to.
Are you, in a sense, blaming the Conservative Party and their attacks on you for what happened last night?
No.
Today, no bulletproof vest for Trudeau, but those tactical officers remained on the sidelines, a sign of RCMP's vigilance after a scare. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Both the Liberals and NDP were out in full force today trying to win votes and power after Election Day, October 21st. But as Salima Shivji explains, the NDP says it is open to an alternative route there, a coalition.
On Thanksgiving Sunday, Justin Trudeau was thankful for some high-profile support from Masai Ujiri, the man behind the Toronto Raptors championship. Less so when looking at the polls. The race so tight it's forced Trudeau to play defense in ridings the Liberals hold near Toronto and desperately need to keep.
All right. Andrew Scheer took a look at Doug Ford's cuts and said, "Hold my beer."
Squeezed on the right and on the left, Trudeau has shifted his attack, leaning into the word progressive.
The NDP wasn't able to stop Doug Ford. The NDP wasn't able to stop Stephen Harper. If you want to stop Conservative cuts, you have to elect a progressive government, not a progressive opposition.
But NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says voters don't have to choose. As talk grows of a minority government, Singh was asked about working with other parties, specifically the Liberals, in a coalition if the Conservatives get less than a majority.
Oh, absolutely, because we're not going to support a Conservative government. We're going to fight a Conservative government. We're going to fight it all the way.
The Bloc Québécois' Yves-François Blanchette says his party will decide who to support issue by issue.
We will not be part of any coalition or of any kind because our only loyalty is to Quebecers.
The Liberals say their focus is still on winning a majority. They're not willing to speak publicly about a minority government and certainly not a coalition. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Toronto.
Fighting in northern Syria is intensifying as Turkish troops advance on Kurdish-controlled areas. The Kurds say they are getting some help from the Syrian government. Donald Trump, meanwhile, has ordered all U.S. troops to withdraw from the area. There are reports hundreds of ISIS family members escaped from a holding camp amid heavy clashes. The United Nations says more than 100,000 Syrians have fled since the operation began last week. Here in Toronto, the Kurdish community took to the streets today protesting the violence and calling on international leaders to step up.
We call whole United Nations to helping the Kurdish people.
Right now it's time to build up the international solidarity. While it's not too late, we have to stand up with Kurdish people and people of Syria in northern Syria and show solidarity with them. This is really important.
Hundreds gathered at Young and Bloor before making their way to the U.S. Embassy. Turkish forces went on the offensive Wednesday. Casualties continue to climb, and thousands are fleeing the violence. For some, it hits close to home.
My whole family's there, basically. They're all terrified of what's going to happen the next day. The fact that they don't have access to leave or to go into another country for a safe haven is also terrifying.
Similar protests in support of Syrian Kurds have taken place across the country and right around the world.
You have to dribble the ball every 3 strides or every 3 seconds.
Ever play a game of roll ball? Turns out neither has the team representing Canada at the Roll Ball World Cup. We'll introduce you to the sport and the players after the break. In less than a month, teams from 40 countries around the world will meet in India, competing in the World Cup of Rollball. Think a cross between basketball, handball, and hockey. As Greg Ross shows us, for the first time, Canada is sending a team.
Ready?
They are Canada's first ever national rollball team, and next month they will compete at the Rollball World Cup in Chennai, India.
Are you worried that these guys might need some more time to prepare?
No, we are prepared. We are prepared.
You're a confident guy.
I'm 100% confident and win the cup also.
Sheikh Hussein is the coach. his confidence is surprising, considering none of his players have ever played in an organized game of roll ball of any kind.
When he says you want to play roll ball, what's your first thought?
I said, what is roll ball? I had no idea what it was.
This is just 2 months ago.
Duncan Tooley agreed to help Hussein assemble the team in the summer. Tooley says he was sold on the idea after learning Hussein, a former roll ball player himself in India, had somehow convinced the International Roll Ball Federation to allow him to bring a team from Canada.
And to be able to go as the inaugural Team Canada was just a dream come true that I don't think any of us could turn down.
Tooley managed to convince 8 of his friends to join the team as well. None of them had ever heard of roll ball either, so the first step was giving them a crash course on the rules of the game.
You have to dribble the ball every 3 strides or every 3 seconds. So you can stand there with the ball, but after 3 seconds you have to bounce it. We've been out the past couple months, practicing and kind of picking it up here and there and getting used to the dribbling and the skating and the pivoting.
The object of the game is to score on the other team's net, very much like hockey.
Let's just get a show of hands here. How many guys here have actually played hockey before in their life? So everybody's a former hockey player here. How much does that help, that these guys have so much experience on skates?
The hockey is the 100% help for the roll ball player.
In fact, they believe they can bring a lot of what they've learned in hockey to roll ball, including Canadian toughness and heart.
If anyone touches our goalie, they'd better look behind the
That's a hockey thing.
Yeah, 100%. We'll be protecting the goalie as well.
If you have to drop the gloves, you're going to drop the gloves.
I wouldn't even think twice about it. You have to protect your goalie.
How often do they fight in roll ball?
No, not fight. So there is a very cool game.
I think you might want to have a chat with some of your players here.
Clearly, there is still a lot to learn as they prepare to face the world's best roll ball teams.
It's definitely going to be tough, but, I think the way that we're looking at it, we're just going to have fun with it.
The Roll Ball World Cup runs from November 15th to the 20th. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Yeah, and good luck to them. It sounds like they might need it. Marta, she's back from the Weather Network now with our full forecast. Tomorrow's the holiday Monday. A lot of people hoping to, get outside, stretch their legs after eating a big meal, hopefully.
Yeah, and well, here at home, they'll be able to do that. Just a quick look at the weather events happening from coast to coast. Some areas are seeing snow, but don't worry, we are not here in the GTA. Let's take a closer look at that. There is a chance for some lake effect showers, but that's in through northeastern and northwestern Ontario. Not much through the GTA. I mean, it's pretty calm and cool, just a little bit below seasonal. We can see that here, 11 degrees in the afternoon, which is slightly below seasonal. It should be around 14 for this time of year. So a little bit cooler, but that sunshine is there and it's going to keep things warm and nice. And you'll walk outside and have after that Thanksgiving dinner and you'll be able to stretch your legs. 11 degrees in Toronto, 8 degrees in Guelph, 11 in Hamilton for Monday. And on Tuesday, you can see those systems throughout. There is something approaching in through southern Ontario. That's where you're going to see that rain in through the evening hours. Let's take a look at the precipitation forecast. You see that? It's slicing through and in through the middle of the warm sector here. That's where you're going to see Wednesday and Thursday showers through the GTA. Tuesday, that slight icon there with the rain and sun, 14 degrees in Toronto. It's through Wednesday where that system is parked right over southern Ontario. And a quick look at the 7-day forecast for Toronto. As I mentioned, slight chance on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. That's where you'll see that rain throughout.
We'll take rain, not snow. Thanks, Marta. Hundreds of volunteers were busy organizing food donations all weekend for the Daily Bread Food Bank's annual Thanksgiving sort. Take a look.
We've had 500 people over the course of this weekend sort 100,000 pounds of food towards our goal of 1 million pounds of food this Thanksgiving. And so we're very grateful for every volunteer who spent time with us. In a city as wonderful as ours is, the divide between those who have and those who do not have is growing, and so we need to make sure that every individual has access to decent, affordable housing. Every individual has access to provide their families with the meals that they need to.
We're sorting food. We're looking at expiry dates. We're checking the best before dates, and we're trying to put them in their boxes correctly so that they can get sent to people that need them.
I think it's good to bring like a big group of people and do it all together. It's pretty fun, actually. It's something that everybody can do and that everybody should do. So, and you can always make time for it, so why not?
A very good point. Well, that's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. As we go, we'll leave you with a look at Toronto Pumpkin Fest at Dansview Park today. So much fun for all the little kiddies. From all of us here at CBC Toronto, we wish you a happy Thanksgiving.